race fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Dropping the Hammer Racing Hour podcast with a new look and a new logo, courtesy of my friend Jetman999. Absolutely great design, and once this episode is up, you will get to see it. As always, I'm Alex Gray, along here with Michael Klein himself, and apparently today, September 30th, is International Podcast Day, apparently. So I guess what a great time to do an episode.
Yep, best way we can do it.
Yeah, pretty much. More news breaking out in the NASCAR world. We come out of Las Vegas where Denny Hamlin got the win there, and we'll head next to Talladega.
And that's all we have to talk about that.
Yeah, so we got Talladega coming up, and, of course, some of the news involving the 2022 Xfinity and truck schedules and some exciting tracks and changes that we're seeing to both of those schedules. So I think we'll go ahead and just knock out the schedules now and go ahead and take a look at them and see what the big changes are, because I think some of them have gotten a lot of fans really excited for, especially from the truck series.
All right. So obviously looking at the Xfinity schedule, it looks like there's really only one major change to that, and that is Mid-Ohio is replaced with Portland, which obviously I think that's great for the series because you're tapping into the Pacific Northwest, which they haven't done since the truck series went to Evergreen. So being able to have a race out there should definitely increase fan interest in that area. And obviously just having a new road course for the Xfinity series is going to be exciting to watch. I know Portland's been on the upswing over the past few years. I do remember the trucks and Arco West series used to go there. And just a couple of years ago, they kind of brought it back to relevance after it had kind of been gone for a while. So seeing how far it's come now with now an Xfinity series race there, it's pretty impressive to see.
Yeah, brand new track, as you said. NASCAR hasn't ran there in quite a while. So as you mentioned, the Truck Series ran there in '99, 2000. K&N Pro Series West ran there 2009, 2012, as well as one time during the '80s. So yeah, I think it's great that NASCAR
and they're back there now.
Market. Yeah, that's right. IndyCar as well returned there in 2018, 2019, and of course this year. Of course, we all know why. They didn't have a race last year with all the craziness that happened there with COVID. But, I'm really excited about this because, again, new track, new market for NASCAR. I've always thought that was like the one market that I think NASCAR was missing, was tapping into the Portland, Seattle, Vancouver markets, and now you got Portland right there. That's a big market. Heck, even Greg Biffle, former Cup driver who also ran in the SRX this year, came out and said he'll have his gear ready for the Xfinity race there if anybody would give him a call. So I do hope somebody will give Greg Biffle a ride for that. I'm pretty sure Biffle would be all in for that.
Oh, absolutely. As long as it's the number 69 car, he'll do it.
That's true, yeah. Didn't he drive that number in the SRX? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, he did.
That's amazing. I love that. So yeah, obviously it's not all bad news for Mid-Ohio either, because when you look at the Truck Series, they ended up kicking Watkins Glen and Canadian Tire out, which of course understandable with Canadian Tire. Still pretty strict COVID restrictions in Canada, and NASCAR has to move forward with everything. So they ended up replacing, I believe, Canadian Tire, or one of them anyway, with Mid-Ohio. So the Truck Series will now run at Mid-Ohio July 9th, and the Truck Series is going to Sonoma to be part of the Cup weekend. So I don't recall if the Truck Series ever ran there.
Yeah, they did.
There was a time
back in the late 90s, they did.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I thought.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Go to YouTube and look up Ray Daniels Slip.
Okay. I will look that up after the show here. But I think some of the biggest exciting news to talk about.
Yeah, and it's the one I'm absolutely the most excited for. So, drum roll.
Me too. All right. The Truck Series is coming back. Sorry, you want to do it or me?
You know, can I do it? Because this is kind of a home track for me. I mean, love racing here.
By all means. By all means.
Okay.
Go for it.
Truck Series back at Lucas Oil Raceway, or IRP for you diehard traditionalists.
Yeah. First time since 2011. That was the last time the trucks and Xfinity ran there. And it will open the playoffs on Friday, July 29th, sharing an evening with ARCA. So I'm glad ARCA's coming back there, too. That was announced this morning. We went to the 2020 race where they didn't race there this year. But I'm really glad that the Truck Series is going back to really such a historic and prestigious track. You know, I think that track has finally been gaining traction again, especially the FRX event there was so successful and everything else with Thursday Night Thunder and all the events that it hosts there. You know, it's a great track. It's a great venue, lots of history, and I'm just super thrilled that the Truck Series is going to come back to Lucas Oil Raceway. I think that is a track definitely for the Truck Series.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously, the way we've been getting more involved in the racing there, with me having competed in a few races there, you know, obviously this is awesome to see. And I think this is something we can definitely put on the schedule as we need to look at this for next season. You know, I obviously can't leak anything right now, but, you know, it's definitely something that you at least got to look at as a driver, especially when, you know, you've kind of made that your new home track.
Yeah, ever since I've gone, I've been there a handful of times now, and I can say I've fallen in love with the place. I love it. It's a great short track, and again, it just makes me excited that the Truck Series is going to come back there, and I know it's going to be a packed place that night. It's going to open up the playoffs, and what a better way to bring back the Truck Series to Lucas Oil than to have it as the opening race of the playoffs. I think it is perfect.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the only racing there that weekend, from what I understand. I think I heard there's going to be an open wheel night the night after. So for Saturday, basically, I think it's probably going to be Silver Crown sprint cars and the midgets. I can't confirm that, obviously, but that's from all the rumblings I've heard what's going to happen the night after that, too. So basically, it's going to be 5 races in one weekend there.
Wow. Okay. That's a good deal. I like that. That's a good deal.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't mind them actually running the open wheel cars the night before and having like another Thursday Night Thunder type deal.
Yeah. I would. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. I agree. So, yeah. Other changes. Really, they moved up Gateway to the Cup weekend in June. They are returning to Knoxville, despite how that race kind of got some mixed reactions just from what happened in that race. So I kind of also want to get your thoughts on that with Knoxville coming back.
You know, I'm just happy to see another dirt race on there, and hopefully now that we have a year of racing there and we kind of know what will work and what won't work, maybe we can go into this one here a little bit better prepared than we were for the first one. Yeah. You know, because that's kind of what NASCAR has to do every time they go to a new track. You got to learn from it, see what happens, and then know what worked and what didn't work when you go back.
Yeah, and that's exactly what has been the theme about all the new venues that we've seen this year with Nashville and, you know, the Cup teams having those brake disc issues, bringing in a smaller brake disc. We've seen the rain issues at COTA, you know, the Bristol dirt mishaps with the rain and everything. You know, it's a learning curve for a lot of these tracks, and I agree with you completely. I think now that they've raced at Knoxville for a year, a lot of those guys are going to come back and say, okay, now we know, we have data, we know what we need to do here. You know, now for Lucas Oil, it could be the same way for some of those guys who'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember racing here. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic, too.
Yeah, you know, we're going to have a bunch of guys in there who I'm sure have experience. Like, we got guys like Matt Crafton and Johnny Sauter, who just about won that race on a 100-lap full of tires back in 2004, I believe. So it's not going to be like it's a brand-new track who nobody has any experience on. Some of these guys, it's just going to be going back and kind of a refresher. And, of course, you're also going to have a lot of guys there who are going there for the first time. Whether or not they didn't ever run it in ARCA or they, you know, only run the Truck Series past few years, you know, it's going to have that mix of veteran knowledge and rookie experience. It's also going to be about an even split for this one, which is pretty unusual, I think, when you go to a brand new track for a series. So, it's definitely going to be something very interesting to watch, and I would encourage every fan to tune in. I mean, I know it's not racing on the big track, so it's not going to get that sort of exposure and fanfare, but absolutely, everybody who wants to watch some good racing, tune into this race or buy a ticket, because you will not regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a nod to the early days of the Truck Series, because a lot of the races back then were on a lot of those short intermediate tracks. They went to tracks like I-70 Speedway, Louisville Motor Speedway. I can name several more. I think first season they opened up at Phoenix, stuff like that. So kind of a good throwback to going to places like Knoxville, like doing the Bristol Dirt Race, doing Lucas Oil, just an instance there.
So, yeah, definitely that was honestly one of the most exciting things I've heard, when it comes to a new schedule being released here recently. I was just getting in the shower, and then John yelled to me from the other door. He says, Xfinity and truck schedules have been released. And he says, Xfinity to Portland. And then he paused a little bit, and he says, trucks to Lucas Oil. And at that point, we were jumping up and down almost. 'Cause, man, we were excited to see that.
Yeah, I woke up and I checked my phone. I'm off from work this week, so I'm just kind of taking it easy. I take my phone out, I check it, and I see Portland, Lucas Oil. I went, wait, Lucas Oil? I was like, yes! I was like Daniel Bryan doing the yes, yes, yes chant. That's literally what I almost did. I nearly jumped out of my bed. I was so happy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have to be thrilled about IRP.
Yeah, and hopefully this is kind of the start of NASCAR starting to move its lower series back to some of these short tracks, or seeing if they could even work for a Cup race. Obviously I don't think you can say we can put Lucas Oil on the Cup schedule right now, but I do know that they have a grant to make upgrades to it, so they would definitely be able to have that happen eventually, hopefully. And they're just kind of doing this as kind of a test to see what will and won't work. And like I said, hopefully this opens the floodgates to add some of these other tracks, such as Memphis or Pikes Peak or Nashville, back to the schedule. Those are all tracks I think a lot of people, especially those of us who grew up watching the Xfinity and Truck standalone events there, I think that's something that we would all really pine for. And if this track can sort of be the catalyst for getting that going, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, 20 years ago, NASCAR did the opposite. They were moving away from those smaller tracks to go to these bigger markets with the mile-and-a-half tracks and, kind of the cookie-cutter track movement with Las Vegas, Kansas, Chicagoland, Kentucky, and all these other tracks that, I come off the top of my head. But now you start to wonder, are we seeing a short track movement in the 2020s decade? Auto Club looks like it's going to turn into a short track in 2023. You talk about IRP coming back. Well, now we talk about perhaps reviving North Wilkesboro after all these years. We talk about, as you mentioned, Memphis, Pikes Peak, Rockingham even, all these short tracks that could be making big bounce backs, which, that's what a lot of fans seem to want. And I think even a lot of drivers probably want it too. Now, what's funny is I'm actually doing like an NR 2003 video I'm working on for my YouTube channel, and I'm doing basically there's that new series called Marvel's What If, so I'm trying to do like a NASCAR version of that. So I'm doing what if the Cup Series race at IRP, essentially, and what would happen, who'd win, that kind of stuff, because I like messing around with that kind of stuff. I think it's fun, and so I wanted your thoughts on, are we seeing perhaps a new short track movement in the coming years?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it'd also be nice to see if they could have some of these short track series sort of run as like a preliminary event to these to help give the smaller guys more exposure, especially, and which running before one of the NASCAR series would do a great job of doing that.
That's what I like about, ARCA does that a lot too. They race at tracks like Madison, like Elko, like Salem, like Toledo, and all those other short tracks that they go to, and I enjoy short track racing. I've been enjoying it a lot more since I've gone to more races with you at some of these places. We've been to the Little 500 earlier this year, and I can go back to the dirt scene. Going to places like Kokomo, like Lawrenceburg, like Florence, like Circle City, and all those other tracks too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that a lot of people will agree with you on, is that short track racing is probably the most exciting form of racing there is. And so seeing NASCAR finally start kind of realize that and start moving toward that, it's definitely a step in the right direction, if you ask me, because it's not only what the fans want, I think it's also kind of what the drivers want. Because, NASCAR was built on short tracks, and so being able to kind of go back to our roots and put on a good show for fans, wow, having the guys race it out, because I feel like the short tracks are kind of an equalizer, obviously it's a much slower track, so the smaller teams are going to be at less of a disadvantage at that, so it could definitely help these guys too and prove to be more competitive in the long run, so it's definitely a good sign of things to come for NASCAR.
Yeah, absolutely. We are literally, as I've said 2,000 times before, we're entering a new era of NASCAR. I mean, here's another short track example that we talked about when we had Bobby Marcos on last time. The Clash is going to be in the freaking LA Coliseum. Like, how cool is that? I think that's awesome. Plus it's in a big market, and I'm really curious to see, fitting all those cars on a quarter-mile short track inside of the LA Coliseum. So, you got to try this stuff, you never know, right? You just got to try it and see if it works or not. And I think that's what NASCAR is doing. I think they're going to continue to experiment with the schedule for the foreseeable future, going later into this decade. This is it for the NASCAR we grew up with. This is a new NASCAR we're going into, and I'm really excited to see all the new teams, the new cars, the new tracks. I'm really curious to see what it's all going to look like.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people are looking forward to where NASCAR is going with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, before we move on, here's a little fun question that just came up the top of my head. Of course, this might be a biased answer for the two of us, but if you were in charge of building a racetrack anywhere in this country, what would it be? Where would it be? And, what would be some, I guess, like, cool features about it?
Oh, boy. Let's see. So can we only build one racetrack, or are we talking about just building one race facility? Because there is a difference.
That is true. I guess you can do race facility if you want to make it a little more easy.
Nice. So if I have that and I have unlimited funds, what I'm doing is I'm buying Kentucky, okay? I am buying Kentucky Speedway. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping the big track, but I'm also turning it into a multi-use facility. We'll have a dirt track, we'll have a road course, drag strip. We'll have something for everybody.
Yeah.
If I have unlimited funds. And, of course, what I'd probably do is return turns 1 and 2 to its regular configuration. This may be a bad idea, but I'll try to use levitation to artificially age the circuit, to hopefully make the racing there just a little bit better. Obviously, we can't do it to the extent Charlotte did it, which resulted in like 20 tire blowouts. Hopefully Goodyear would have that figured out by now and have a harder compound for it. But, that's definitely something I would probably do.
Yeah. I would love that idea, Obviously, for the two of us,
and we need a short. I forgot. We need a short oval there too.
Yeah,
because honestly, we don't really have any short asphalt ovals up here. The closest we could go is Kilcare and Dayton, or Lucas Oil Raceway and Indy.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Like, there's a few dirt tracks, like a notable one being Florence, and there's a few others. But yeah, you're right. There is really no massive short paved track in the state of Kentucky. But if I was put in charge of anything, as I just remembered something, this is me having Asperger's syndrome and remembering certain things. It was actually this day a year ago where they announced the 2021 schedule, and for you and me, our hearts were shattered because that was when we found out Kentucky and Chicagoland were wiped off the schedule. I know people don't like the place, but for Michael and I, it's different. We've been to races there forever. As a matter of fact, before I answer this question I asked, there's the IndyCar top 10 TV markets came out. 2 cities that were in that top 10, Louisville, Cincinnati. So
why is IndyCar not in Kentucky?
Yeah, I think that's a good indicator. Why not? Why not bring IndyCar back to Kentucky? I would get rid of that PJ1, by the way. I don't think it really did.
If I could, I would grab all the PJ1 and just burn it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. With Kentucky, I would certainly either make it a short track or like build a dirt track there as well, and then try to reconfigure it a little bit to make the racing better, like you said. Maybe go back to its original configuration, or maybe try something a little funny, like an infield road course, or even turning it into a short track, as I mentioned. But another idea I had, and I had this in the top of my head, I even tried to draw it out. But in Louisville, because there used to be a short track there, by the way, the Truck Series ran at, the Kentucky Fair and Exposition, the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center used to have a spot where the old University of Louisville football stadium once sat. They finally demolished it after really it being barely used besides concerts of the Kentucky State Fair. They finally tore it down a couple years ago, and it's now a big parking lot. I thought, hey, if there's enough room, why not put a short track there? Nice 78,000 seat facility. Yeah, something like I kind of like the idea of what they want to do at Auto Club, that Martinsville feel, but with the Bristol banking, maybe something like that, or maybe lesser banking, so where maybe if there is lesser banking, then maybe you can host USAC pavement races or IndyCar or whatever. Give it maximum use, so that the city of Louisville can really get in on it and take advantage of it and go, yeah, we like that. But yeah, that's just a goofy idea I had because I'm weird that way. I like coming up with weird ideas like that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's all about having fun. So yeah, there's all the track and schedule talk there. News came out today also, silly season, as pretty much indicated, because JTG Daugherty Racing said they were going to go down to one car. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will return to that team next season in the 47. So Ryan Preece is without a ride at the moment, but I'm pretty sure there could be an opportunity to him. Maybe he goes down to Xfinity. Maybe he tries the Truck Series. He did win at Nashville for DGR. That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, Ryan Preece is one of those guys who, honestly, I think he deserves a ride at the top level of Cup. But if we're being realistic, that door's not always open for someone like him. So if he could find a decent Xfinity or truck ride, I think that would be a great fit for him to show what he can do and hopefully get some of these Cup owners to really look at him as like, okay, so maybe here is a guy who we could bring on and could win for us.
Yeah, obviously this year, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but we saw John Hunter Nemechek, who ran in Cup last year, say, you know what, I'm going to go drive for Kyle Busch and trucks. I'm going to try and win a championship. He's won several races, and, he's on track to try and make the championship 4. Obviously, he could still get eliminated. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But, again, he went down, won races, and perhaps maybe this could help him go to a Joe Gibbs Xfinity right next year because, now there's 2 rides open. One of them is going to Ty Gibbs for sure. The 18 and 20 cars. Harrison Burton's moving up to Cup to replace Matt DiBenedetto in the 21. And then, of course, Daniel Hamrick's going to move over to Colleague Racing in the number 11. So, still a lot left to cover in terms of truck and Xfinity silly season. So, it'll be interesting to see how that nets out. But, again, if I'm talking about Joe Gibbs Racing, I think it's going to be Ty Gibbs in the 18, the 19 of Brandon Jones, 20's probably John Hunter, and then the 54 for Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, whoever. So,
yep.
And I believe GMS Racing has an announcement regarding a ride for a driver next season. They did tease the truck a little bit in a video. They're going to announce it on October 1st. The truck looked yellow and black, and it indicated to me that I think it's going to be Grant Enfinger. He's going to get a full-time ride at GMS next year, which he rightfully deserves it. I think he kind of got the short end of the stick with ThorSport, and I think that might have left a sour taste in his mouth, which I wouldn't blame him. So perhaps that might be what's happening. It could be completely somebody different. But we'll find that out tomorrow, October 1st.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about that looking at that video, but it would make sense. Grant Enfinger used to drive for GMS. That's where he had all of his ARCA success, and it's where he got his first Truck Series win. So it'd be awesome to see that sort of reunion. Enfinger is a hell of a driver. Honestly, he could have been the best out of that whole ThorSport bunch, if you ask me. And seeing him kind of get shafted down to part-time, that really stunk, I mean, I really hated it for Christian Eckes, too, but at the same time, if we have Enfinger going full-time over to GMS, hopefully that opens the door for Christian Eckes to go full-time with ThorSport, or obviously he just won with this past weekend at Las Vegas. Being able to see them both be back full-time in the series would be incredible to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Eckes winning at Vegas, I think, does him a lot of favors. I think, ThorSport also. Fun fact about that truck race. The 1, 2, 3, 4 finish from ThorSport is the first ever in Camping World Truck Series history.
Yeah, and then the next day we go 1, 2, 3 for Junior Motorsports.
That's true. Yeah, I almost thought, is JGR going to go like 1, 2, 3 or something like that? JGR did win, but I think Chase Elliott got second in that race. Denny Hamlin went on to win the Cup race there. But, Christian Eckes won the truck race. Ben Rhodes, who now has the points lead, finishing in second. Matt Crafton and Johnny Sauter. But, of course, nobody's safe going into Talladega, and we know how trucks at Talladega can be sometimes. So that's going to be an interesting race. Really, if you're in the race.
I mean, obviously Ben, I feel like Ben will be breathing pretty easily. He's got a huge 34-point cushion, but even that's not going to be a guarantee.
Right.
Because the big one could happen lap 1, lap 2, and if Ben is right there in the mix, when it happens, that could screw everything up because you're not getting any stage points and you're not finishing the race.
Exactly. Yeah. And on the bright side for Ben Rhodes, he did win at Daytona, start the season off, and the road course there. So he's won the other Super Speedway race. Could he potentially go for that sweep? It won't be easy, though. I think it's going to be a very competitive field, and it's going to be a very tough field, especially for the Truck Series at Talladega. It's always capable of putting on a show. So, I think, Ben Rhodes will start on the pole for Saturday's race. Todd Gilliland next to him. Then Crafton, Friesen, Hill, Hocevar, Nemechek, Smith, Creed, Chandler, Smith. That's how they will start the race. And there will be 40 trucks in this bad boy. Oh, yeah. Can I bring up that Willie Allen is going to be racing the 25 truck also for the truck race?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I don't. It's been a while, I think. Let me see here. His last truck start was in 2014. So it's been 7 years since he's been in the
My
truck.
last memory of him was him wrecking at Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Good point. You have a really good point on that. So should be a fun race as we look forward to that. Let me check here. Xfinity, also at Talladega. As you told me before we started this podcast, that Josh Berry will be back in the one as he won at Las Vegas, his second career Xfinity win. We got to talk about that situation. Michael Annette's had that leg injury. It sidelined him a lot. Does he race at all for the rest of the season? Does he retire? Does he come back? What does funding look like for Josh Berry? Does Pilot want to stick along? If Annette were to leave, there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Josh Berry's obviously getting the most out of that one car, but we know he's going to be full-time in the 8 for next season. From what I understand, Junior Motorsports is prepared to field a 5th car for Michael Annette if he and Pilot choose to come back. So whether or not he comes back is going to be completely up to Michael. So we'll just have to see what happens with that as we get closer to it.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that to see what Annette decides to do. I think at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised if he decides, you know what, I'm not in the playoffs. I'm going to sit out the rest of the season. I'm going to heal my leg up, and then I'm going to be back and ready to go in February in Daytona. may not be a bad idea for him to do that just so he doesn't come back and try to re-aggravate his injury again. You want to make sure, because a leg injury, and you're in that stock car, you want to make sure you're fully healed before getting back in there.
Right, and obviously it's already been re-aggravated a few times now, so
right.
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, it'd probably be the best for them if Michael Annett just decided to sit out the remainder of the year and let that leg heal up as much as he can before he hops back behind the wheel.
Yeah, so we'll see how that nets out. But for now, Josh Berry's going to get more seat time to prepare for a championship run next year with Junior Motorsports. And I know for sure he's going to be out there winning races. He's going to do a great job. He's done a fantastic job. He's pretty much been like the feel-good story of this season, or at least one of them. From his background, running all those late miles, and then finally getting this big break, winning at Martinsville, this is a year that I think Josh Berry's never going to forget, not to mention he got a couple Cup starts also under his belt now because of certain circumstances, so there you go.
Yeah, he's gotten to drive a couple times for Spire, once due to Justin Haley's wreck and then due to Corey LaJoie's COVID protocol.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of Spire, want to note that Justin Allgaier is going to run the Cup race at Talladega in the number 77. Again, good to see him back. Of course, I believe, didn't Allgaier hop into somebody's Cup car earlier this year? I could have sworn.
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right. I forgot. Justin Haley missed the Cup race due to COVID protocol.
And that was
Allgaier's the one who replaced him when he got hurt. That's right.
That's right. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure, because, again, Allgaier also last year made that one start in place of Jimmy Johnson when he was out for COVID for Indy. So it's good to see Allgaier get another shot at a Cup ride, and hopefully he can do a good job and give Spire a good run. Who knows? Maybe he'll give Spire their second win after Justin Haley got them their first a couple years ago.
It's possible. I mean, anything's possible at Dega.
Exactly. I mean, you look at, what was I about to bring up? Oh, talking about the Xfinity Series and silly season, another driver to be worried about is Jeb Burton because, their sponsor just announced that they're not going to be back next year. So now, Jeb Burton's future is kind of up in arms, which is a shame because this year has pretty much felt like a comeback year for him too. He won at Talladega, getting that win when the race was called for rain. And now, suddenly his future looks uncertain. And I know in these last few races, he's going to give it his all. So, we have to monitor that situation. See, is Jeb going to come back to Colleague? Are they going to get this funding? Or is, they're going to have to part ways? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, from what I understand, Colleague's working to find some funding through his other sponsors. But, of course, that's just going to come down to what sponsors want, which – honestly, if I wanted sponsors, I would definitely want Jeb in my car. He is a solid wheel man. He's a guy who's had to work for everything he's gotten in this sport. I can't think of another driver who deserves that car more than Jeb. So hopefully he's able to get that worked out and return to college next year, or even go to another good ride somewhere if that's not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Jeb Burton has deserved to be in that car. He's done a great job. Putting some really good results in. He's gotten a win. Like you said, I think he is very deserving of that ride. So hopefully some good things can come out of that, and he'll be back in that number 10 car next year.
Yep, that's what we got to hope for. And, and obviously also just announced is that Daniel Hamrick will be in the 11 car. So solid driver with another solid team. Let's see if maybe he can finally get that elusive first win for them.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I feel like Hamrick has ran into some of the worst luck possible, because he's got a great car. He's had so many chances to win, and something has gone wrong every single time, Atlanta, he had the lead, wrecked from the lead and everything else, and, whether it's a pit mistake or a pit penalty or just gets passed, it's just like, And I feel bad for him because Hamrick has done a great job at where he's been this year, and I know he'll do a fine job at Colleague next year. So the big question then is, when is that win coming? Is it going to be this Saturday? Is it going to be next year? But again, Hamrick is he's going to fight for it. He races hard, does a great job, and I know he wants to get that win, and I still think he'll get it.
Yeah, he's going to get it. He's a wheelman. He just has the absolute worst luck I can think of.
I agree. Of course, Hamrick's still in the playoff hunt, too. So, he could punch his ticket into the next round with a win this weekend. Some other things I'm seeing from some drivers on Twitter. Andy Lally, who some of you may not know, is the 2011 Cup Rookie of the Year. He's tweeted out, trying to run all the road courses. He's working on his 2022 calendar. There are a lot of pieces that have fallen into place. He says, I'm figuring out if I'll be in IMSA, seeing if Fox Sports will let me call more NASCAR truck races, and how many of last year's sponsors can come back for 22. So that's from Andy Lally. And Adam Stern also tweeted about Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy said he's had some NASCAR teams reach out about possible interest in driving, whether in a one-off or full-time, but he doesn't want to do full-time, and even a one-off is unclear because his 2022 schedule is going to be full of IndyCar and IMSA. Of course, we forgot to talk about that. The IndyCar season just wrapped up. Jimmy Johnson wrapping up his rookie season in the IndyCar series. Alex Palou is the champion. Colton Herta went on to win at Long Beach. So big congratulations to Chip Ganassi Racing and Alex Palou. Definitely well-deserved.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if anybody really had Alex Palou as their championship favorite coming into the season, but, man, about halfway through, he sure changed everyone's minds. I mean, wow, I've never seen somebody have such great improvement going from one team to another in the span of a single year.
This has been a big breakout season for him, and I feel like I've noticed in IndyCar, we always have those big drivers like Castroneves, like Pagenaud, like Newgard, like Power, but now we're starting to see a little bit of a youth movement. We're seeing Palou break out. We're seeing Pato O'Ward break out on this team. Renus VK picked up a win. Marcus Ericsson with his wins. Colton Herta is finally starting to come into his own. We're starting to see the future of IndyCar take shape with some of these drivers.
Yep, and, we've also got to look back at what a heartbreaking day for McLaren it was. You have Lando Norris lead the entire Russian Grand Prix, only for rain to screw up the strategy and take him out of the running for that. And then Pato O'Ward in the middle of a championship hunt getting wrecked on the first lap, which ended up costing them the race. Yeah,
that's got to be an extremely rough day for McLaren. You make a really good point there. I forgot to bring up the F1 race as well. Sir Lewis Hamilton, picking up his 100th career Formula One victory. What a milestone! No one's really ever reached in IndyCar or Formula One. I can't believe I just said IndyCar. Formula One. But what a milestone!
All right, is there anything to talk about? Okay.
Yeah, I think looks like my connection glitched just a tad bit there. Yeah, sorry about that.
What was that?
I guess. Yeah, I think I might have just had a little glitch and a little technical difficulty there, so I apologize.
Okay. It sounded like the chair broke almost.
Oh, really? My chair is just loud. That's all. It's a little squeaky. Yeah.
No, I mean, it sounded like it broke. It sounded like it broke,
really?
And you came tumbling down. That's what that sounded like.
Oh my God! No, my chair's still intact. I don't know what sound I would have made that caused that. Okay. Well, I was about to say, my chair can be a little squeaky sometimes. I know at some point I'll need an upgrade if I'm doing iRacing, but I mean, which I am running in the Elite OT Firearms Truck Series in iRacing. I still suck, but I'm working on it. So I just ran at Texas this past weekend. I finished 26th, I think. I could have finished higher, but I did something so stupid at the very end. I had to take a green flag pit stop because it was a surprisingly clean race. There was one caution early on. It was clean the rest of the way. I was like, okay, well, I got to pit. My teammate was trying to stretch it a little bit, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not really good with running with really worn tires. I'm just going to go ahead and pit. I go and pit. I'm checking my speed, miss my pit stall. and I'm like, So I have to go all the way back around and try again, and I got laughed and Alex, you idiot. But I'll learn from my mistakes. I'm still relatively new to it, and I need to do more of it. But, I tried some dirt late models yesterday and running a little bit of Carb Cup, which, that's just a fun league. But, yeah, iRacing. It's fun. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. I definitely like to find another league to run here. The one I can think of that I've ever really run is the Sark Series with Robbie Lyons. So we're going to have to wait and see when that gets back up. It was a fun series.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, that's right. You invited me to that one. I'd love to participate in that if it makes a comeback.
Yeah, when we get the Super Speedway Series started again, that's Wednesday nights. So hopefully you're good for that.
I should be.
Yeah. Oh, just a preview right now for Lixoil Raceway. I'm just saying this right now. If he's entered, Cody Swanson's winning.
Oh, yeah. That is like his best track. Every time I go there, he's always winning.
Oh, yeah. He's actually running Salem this weekend. You didn't see that.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, he's racing for GMS.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm pretty sure the truck race at IRP, somebody's going to give Cody Swanson a call. Somebody's going to give him a call, and he'll be in that race.
DMS needs to put him in a truck for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I'm not saying go run for any team. He needs a top-tier team because he will win in a top-tier car there.
I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah, I mean, hell, he's never raced an IndyCar before. He went out there, ran a USF 2000 car, won his first attempt.
My God. That's incredible. Swanson is such
an
incredible driver.
Yeah, the dude is an absolute pavement beast.
He is. I agree. Yeah, I agree. He is a pavement beast. ARCA is running at Salem. I know you're going as of right now. I'm going to go as long as my money permits. Speaking of ARCA, I'm pretty sure you've heard the news. Former ARCA team owner Briggs Cunningham unfortunately passed away yesterday.
Yeah, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with his family. It's definitely a tragic loss for all of motorsports. He has a very rich history in all of motorsports, so definitely a truly tragic loss for the whole motorsports communities. And, of course, we do just want to send our thoughts and prayers to his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thoughts and prayers to Cunningham's family at this time. I think that about does it for this episode, unless there's anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, that's everything I've got.
All righty. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this edition of the Dropping Hammer Racing Hour with our new logo now made by Jetman999. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. From Michael Klein and myself, Alex Gray, we will see you next time.